Okay, what day is it? It's the 22nd. Okay, I'm going out of town tomorrow. Recording Wednesday, working Thursday, working Friday. I got the show on Saturday, plus I got to record with Will. Working all day Sunday. I guess I got some time Monday. Oh yeah, Tuesday I got this new thing. Shit. You know, I'm too busy to do the podcast. This might be my only chance. I gotta do it now, or it's not gonna get done this month. Evan's gonna be on my ass if I don't get a podcast out soon. Alright, well, I guess we're just gonna have to do this again. I'm doing it solo. We'll do it live. Well, it's not live. That joke doesn't really work. It's not live. Well, here we go. iHearIC Radio episode 148. It's just me alone. But that means we'll listen to all different kinds of music. It'll be more of a variety. It's not going to be an interview episode. It's going to be like a real radio show with music and a DJ, a host. That's what it's going to be this month. Welcome to September 2025. We're calling it the busiest month of my life. Maybe not quite that bad, but yeah, I got too much going on. And, yeah, peek behind the curtain. Evan's actually kind of like the boss of all this. If I don't get a regular thing done, Evan gets really mad. He's kind of in charge of everything. So I got to make the boss happy. So this is, all right. iHearIC Radio 148. Here we go. I put together a playlist for this actually, but I realized it was like it was all instrumental music. So I thought, well, I should probably get like a rock band in here or something, right? And I remembered that my buddy Giannis, he just produced an album for a local shoegaze band called Stella Drone. And that's what we're going to start off with. They released a 3-track thing called Train Yard Silhouettes. And the opening track is called Meteorite. And that's what we're going to listen to now. Stella Drone with Meteorite. Meteorite by Stella Drone. That was nice. Real thick textures. Vocals kind of buried in the mix. That's how we like our shoegaze, isn't it? Like I said, that was produced by Giannis Alexakis, who has been on the show before. It was recorded at the Vault Recording Studios, where we have also recorded an episode of this show. So, real hometown stuff going on here. You should check this out at stelladrone1.bandcamp.com. That's numeral 1, stelladrone1.bandcamp.com. Like I said, the vocals are a little buried in the mix, which is how it's supposed to sound. And so you might not have picked up the lyrics. So fortunately, though, they do have the lyrics to that song Meteorite on their Bandcamp page. Let's hear a little bit of that. I'll recite this as poetry. When you crash, my meteorite, revolve around you as we grow and rewrite life. As the rising wind subsides and we collide, hold me tight. My meteorite, I never saw the colors of the falls. It's all clear with you. We're doing fine. Let's climb up to the roof and share this cosmic point of view. Along with dim-lit fireflies, when we crash, hold me tight. Along with dim-lit oh wait, they just say the same thing again. I almost stumbled over the word fireflies, so I bailed. But that's nice. I don't have a way with words like this. You know, I can't really write poetically. Well, maybe it's not that I can't, it's that I feel uncomfortable expressing myself that way. So I'm always kind of, I admire people who can write lyrics like this. It's like, oh, that's nice. You know, you put these words in an order that's kind of like, evokes a feeling. That's cool. I wish I could do that. All right. Very nice stuff from Stella Drone. What do I have up next? Oh, yeah. I wanted to play some Moscow puzzles. So, part of the reason I wanted to get this episode out this week, of course, is that I'm way too busy to interview somebody by the end of the month for this show. And so I wanted to just get it done while I have a minute. And another reason is that there is a show happening this weekend at Trumpet Blossom on September 27th. That's this coming Saturday. There's a jazz group from New York City coming called Filament. And they will be supported by local artists like Moscow Puzzles and Grain Bin Operettas and Weapon X. And I'm part of Weapon X. That's my duo with Will Yeager. So I thought that I could put together a show right now that kind of features all of those artists. So we're going to start out with Moscow Puzzles. Now, I played them on Rock Hard Caucus as closing music, I think on our most recent episode. I played something, or maybe the episode before. I don't remember now, but something from a Vast Space of the Interior I played, and that's their most recent release. You can find it at moscowpuzzles.bandcamp.com, of course. It was released in January of 2025, so earlier this year. I believe I played part of Every Tongue Will Confess on Rock Hard Caucus, which is the final track. And now I'm going to play for you the opening track of this album, Vast Space of the Interior, which is called Highway Apathy. Now, I am speculating here. I imagine this is a play on the common phrase highway robbery, right? Which is when somebody overcharges for something and you accuse them of being a thief, stealing your money, holding you at gunpoint. Whereas highway apathy, I guess, is neither person involved in the transaction is particularly concerned either way. I think that's what highway apathy must be in comparison. So let's hear some of that. Moscow Puzzles with Highway Apathy. Oh, yeah, you know I love that glitchy stuff right at the end of that track. Highway Apathy by Moscow Puzzles. Really thick. We're going very guitar heavy for the first little bit of today's show. If I had thought about it, I might have spread those two out a little bit, but hey, it's all right. It's all right. I actually didn't listen to this track ahead of time, so I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. It's Tobin Hoover on the guitar, Tony Andrus on the drums, of course. These guys have been playing as a duo for quite a while. I've played a handful of shows with them the past few years. Always a good time. Very nice guys, very good music. That's just two guys. I don't know if you could tell with the thickness of that texture, but yeah, it's just a guitar and drum set. They really fill it up, huh? Again, you can find this on their Bandcamp page, moscowpuzzles.bandcamp.com. That's from their most recent album, Vast Space of the Interior. There's a bit of a description here in text on the Bandcamp page. It says, steel, snow, blacktop soil, high-tension hiss, fibrous plant matter, slush, dirt, rock. I don't know what that means. But that collection of words, I feel, that makes sense. It fits their music, right? Especially rock. That last word, rock. It's rock music for sure, right? Okay, well, if you liked what you heard, they will be playing at the Trumpet Blossom this Saturday, September 27th. And maybe they'll play that tune. I don't know. I haven't seen their set list yet. Okay, as I was saying, this is a very guitar-heavy opening to the show. We're going to take a real turn now. In addition to promoting this Saturday show, I also want to plug another project that a friend of mine has been working on for a while. I'm holding in my hand a CD in a nice little case. This is being released by Strange Moon Records this Friday, September 26th. This is an album called Unseen, Unheard. There's two slashes between those two words. Unseen / unheard. It's being released by, well, I already said the record label, Strange Moon Records, but the artists involved are Rose Bishop and Heather Neuenschwander. Rose I've known for a long time, and actually if you go back to the KRUI days of iHearIC Radio, you'll find an interview I did with her, oh boy, maybe as long ago as 2018? Might have been 2019, but it was pre-pandemic because I was in the radio station. But yeah, these two flute players, I'll open up the CD here and I'll read the about section. Join flutists Rose Bishop and Heather Neuenschwander for a compelling album of newly commissioned works written specifically for alto and bass flute. I should note, I do not know Heather. I haven't met Heather. I'll be meeting her this Friday. So if I have mispronounced Heather's last name, I apologize. But I think Neuenschwander, I think I made a valiant effort. Again, alto and bass flute. These pieces were commissioned as part of a larger commissioning and recording project that aimed to expand the repertoire for alto and bass flutes, while also highlighting living composers who represent a diverse pool of ideas and backgrounds. Driven by their passion for low flutes, they sought to enrich the repertoire by commissioning new pieces for instruments that are seldom written for in this context. So seldom, in fact, that I have been informed, and I believe this is actually the first album ever released featuring solely duets for alto and bass flute. For those who are not super familiar with these extended parts of the orchestral instrumentation, it's just bigger flutes. Alto flute, it's a little bit bigger than the flute you're familiar with. Bass flute, it's quite a bit bigger than the flute you are familiar with. You can probably tell once we listen to this that it sounds like a flute, but it's a little bit lower than what you're used to. And you can find this also on Bandcamp, unseenunheard.bandcamp.com. They will be releasing this in full this Friday, September 26th. They will also be performing a release show, hold on. I have the page pulled up here. An album release recital. I was pretty sure they used the word recital. I just wanted to make sure before I said it. At the James Theater in Iowa City. I will be there. I'll be helping with sound. I'll be recording and streaming the event. But if you go to the Bandcamp page right now, they have one track available for listening, which is called Vicuña, another word I hope I'm pronouncing properly, Vicuña, which was composed by Nicole Chamberlain. And I believe, I looked this word up earlier, Vicuña is a type of small, something. A small camel. I almost said giraffe. It's pretty different. It's a small camel. Okay, so let's hear Vicuña performed on the alto and bass flutes by Rose Bishop and Heather Neuenschwander. And this is a composition by Nicole Chamberlain. For those of you who listen to podcasts with only one earbud in, I regret to do this, but you're going to have to go back and listen to that track again with both left and right, because there is significant and important panning going on, stereo panning on that track. Bass flute in the left, alto flute in the right. So if you only listen to one, you're gonna need to go back. I'm sorry to do this late warning. I could go back and edit, but I don't really have time for that right now. I'm very busy, so I can't go back and warn you ahead of time. You're just gonna have to go back a couple minutes and try it again. It'll sound better when you have both left and right going on. So that was Vicuña by Nicole Chamberlain, performed by Rose Bishop and Heather Neuenschwander. I'm not sure, so I don't believe this is an album of 10 pieces, 10 brand new compositions for the alto and bass flute. I don't believe they're playing all 10 on this Friday's recital. So, maybe they'll play Vicuña, maybe not. I don't have the set list for that one either. But it's going to be a good time regardless. And I should also mention a couple other Iowa City connections. I see that Zachary Meyer and Lisa Neer are both composers listed on here, and they were former students at the University of Iowa. So plenty of connections, making this even more relevant to the iHearIC radio audience. I liked that a lot. A lot of stomping, a lot of the sort of let's see if I can do it with just my mouth and no flute. The sound that's kind of like I wonder if that's like because it's about a type of camel and camels spit. I have to imagine that's why that happens a lot in that piece. So yeah, actually, I hope they do perform this one on Friday, because I want to see them stomp. I want to see a lot of stomping. That'll be very exciting. So maybe I'll see you there, listeners. Friday night, James Theater. Alto and bass flute. I know we're all ready for some of that. Let's move on to the next performer I have lined up, who is playing this Saturday show at Trumpet Blossom, along with me and Will Yeager as Weapon X. Grain Bin Operette is going to be playing. A solo cellist who plays electric cello, and that's augmented by some pedals, some looping, some, effects of all kinds. It's an affected electric cello. I always enjoy watching her play. She gets into some really interesting territory. The cello is a beautiful instrument, of course, so the range is endless. The horizons are broad when you're making music with just a cello. And the thing is, I don't think that she has anything released commercially. I don't believe there is a Grain Bin Operetta's Bandcamp page yet. I hope that she does, of course. But for the purposes of this show, I grabbed just some samples off of her Instagram page, which maybe is not the best way to feature an artist, but I did want to make sure she was included if we're doing some promo for Saturday's show. So these are some very short clips, but it'll give you just a taste of what Grain Bin Operettas has to offer, and that will hopefully entice you to join us this Saturday night at the Trumpet Blossom. So here we go. A few quick snippets of Grain Bin Operettas. That's all for now. You can go find more. She does have a lot more stuff uploaded on her Instagram, which is grain_bin_operettas. But that does give you a glimpse, right? You hear these sort of undulations. You hear the layers, the loops that, start to overlap with each other. You get the strings way up high. You get the strings way down low. You get a nice reverb. You get some rhythmic thumping, It's good stuff. You can do a lot with a cello, especially if it's electric and amplified. You know what? Speaking of cellos, Weapon X actually just played a show. Some of you may have been there. but I'm sure some people listening missed it. There was a show at Close House, Public Space 1, on the 20th, so this past Saturday. And yeah, Will and I, as Weapon X, we opened for Rashadicus, who is also a cellist. You maybe follow him on Instagram. He's known as the Cello Goblin. And so he, like, you maybe have seen videos of him climbing into trees, climbing on telephone poles, and playing stuff on the cello. And he's fantastic. You know, I had never met him before. I'd only really seen stuff that he has also up on his Instagram. But it's like, I've really never seen somebody have such a command of an audience in a setting like that. You know, it's like an art space, you know, not a huge room, kind of a mixed crowd, you know, and the persona that he embodies during these performances, the Cello Goblin, this is not a creature that can communicate with humans using our language. He's not speaking English, which I think most of the audience are native English speakers, or were native English speakers at this show. But he communicates with us through, I don't know what language it is, but it's he speaks something else. Never spoke a word of English, but he also gestures to us to communicate that way. And people were so locked in to what he was saying. People were laughing at his jokes. And he was not, we had a language barrier, but the tone, the inflection of his voice, and the body language got it across. He was able to get the meaning that he was trying to impart to us. It worked. I was kind of astonished, but it was really effective. And he played a really long set. I mean, not really long, but for a soloist, you know, to go that long, it was impressive. And the energy behind it, you know. And he honestly got more physically demanding towards the end. I don't think I'm really spoiling how his sets are, but it kind of got a little pro wrestling as the night went on towards the end. And yeah, he was doing stuff that I imagine was physically risky for him. But yeah, he's brave. He's brave too. Anyway, fantastic show. One of my favorite shows I've ever played. And while I was there, I was handed a tape by our friend Ben Smasher, who I featured his band Diavor on a previous episode of this show. I'm holding the tape that he handed me right now. You hear that? You hear that tape rattling around in the cassette? He handed me a tape copy of their album Divinity Glutted by Diavor. Now I'm going to reveal something to people out there. I don't really listen to tapes. I like them. I'm glad to have them. I appreciate being handed one at a show for sure. But I'm not going to listen to it on tape. I'm pretty much a digital-only guy these days. Well, fortunately, if you go to bensmasher.bandcamp.com, you can find this very album available in a digital format. I mean, I got a tape player right over there. And I considered, rigging the headphone jack on my tape player into the computer to record it here for this podcast, but I thought, you know what, just give me the file. Just give me the files for this album. So I've got the digital copy of Divinity Glutted by Diavor right now. Album cover is quite grotesque. It is some kind of green demonic creature who seems to be devouring the Messiah, Jesus Christ himself. And you can see the whole digestive process. I think that the snake demon thing has also been, sliced open. It's nasty. Don't show this to your kids. All right? I'd say this is, you gotta be at least 15 years old to view this album art. But we're gonna play the first track off of this on tonight's show, which is called Violent Rapture of Christ's Pallid Form. Speaking of rapture, I heard that there might be a rapture happening tomorrow. Not a rapture, but I guess the rapture. There's supposed to only be one, right? It's been a while since I read Revelation, but I think that the rapture that's the kind of thing that happens once. And I'm just to give everybody to place this moment in time. It is currently September 22nd of 2025. And what I've been hearing is that the rapture will be occurring on September 23rd of 2025. And I plan to release this episode on September 24th of 2025. So that places us in a very, very interesting moment where I'm recording this before the rapture and you are listening to it after the rapture. Should the rapture actually occur, which will put this in a very crazy context. Like, are we still going to listen to podcasts the day after the rapture? I hope so. That's kind of what I'm betting on. That's what I put all my eggs are in that basket. You know, I'm betting on the future of podcasting, even in a post-rapture future. I should mention who all is involved in this, because Diavor, it turns out, includes some old friends of this podcast, people who, again, appeared back in the KRUI days, back on terrestrial radio. Diavor, on this album, Divinity Glutted, is Joe Norman on the guitar. You all know him. Les Olhauser, also on the guitar. You might not know him. I don't, personally. Jonathan Wilson on the alto sax, who you definitely know if you're an old fan of this iHearIC universe. And the aforementioned Ben Smasher is playing synthesizer, and he is the one who handed me this tape on Saturday. So much thanks to him. Let's listen to Violent Rapture of Christ's Pallid Form by Diavor. Okay, nice. That was Violent Rapture of Christ's Pallid Form by Diavor from their album Divinity Glutted. You can find this at bensmasher.bandcamp.com. I noticed also on the page for this album, it says Compositional Arrangement by Joseph Norman and Ben Smasher. And you can kind of hear in that track we listened to, which is the opening track of the album, there were little pauses in there, right? It's kind of like a multi-movement form here. So you can, there's clearly thought put into the structure, the progression here. I imagine this involved quite a bit of improvisation, but structurally, clearly they had a trajectory. There was a place that they intended to start and a place they intended to end up. And for a lot of that, as I was listening, I was like, this is shockingly like tonal, you know, a lot of consonants, a lot of like scales, and not a lot of like noise and chaos. I imagine, you know, it kind of ramped up getting closer to the end, right? The drama kind of increased. It became more violent, right? So I think we needed to set the table pre-violence in order for the violence to then occur. And I have a feeling the rest of the album gets a bit heavier. Track 2, for example, is titled Painful Moans as the Body is Gnashed into the Final Bowel of Death. So I think that there are some noisier depths to come if we were to continue listening tonight. But I'll save that. You know, you can go find it for yourself at bensmasher.bandcamp.com. For now, we are going to continue promoting this Saturday's show at Trumpet Blossom. I'm going to play a track by Filament, which is a jazz trio from New York City, featuring, well, speaking of names, I'm going to do a bad job pronouncing. Should have prepped for this part. Sorry, boys. Bass by Danilo Ranjic-Coleman. Piano by Tobe Suchia. Apologies. And saxophone by Alex Carter. Alex Carter, I got that one. This Iowa-raised boy can say Alex Carter better than anyone. So, I haven't met these guys yet. Once I meet them on Saturday, I'll definitely learn how to say their names with confidence, and maybe I'll redeem myself later. But yeah, to get ready for their performance here in Iowa City at the Trumpet Blossom this Saturday, we're going to listen right now to the title track from their album that they released earlier this year called Once Upon a Time on the Sun, which of course reminds me of the classic Meat Puppets album, Up on the Sun. We all know it. It's playing in your head right now once I said the title. You remember Up on the Sun by the Meat Puppets? Let's see if Filament's Once Upon a Time on the Sun sounds anything like what's playing in our minds right now from the Meat Puppets. Filament with Once Upon a Time on the Sun. Find it for yourself at filamentnyc.bandcamp.com. And then come and see him in Iowa City, Trumpet Blossom, this Saturday night, September 27th. They will, of course, be joined by Moscow Puzzles, Grain Bin Operettas, and Weapon X. Weapon X is me and Will Yeager. I didn't realize this until now, but I also placed a lot of saxophone near the end of today's episode. We're going to have Diavor, Filament, and Weapon X on the latter half of the episode, featuring quite a bit of alto saxophone. But hey, you love the alto saxophone, don't you? Why wouldn't you want that? We love the alto saxophone. I'm looking forward to seeing Filaments on Saturday. I think the piano, bass, alto sax is a cool combo. We don't need no percussion. We get enough of that out of the plunking in the piano. And yeah, that tune had a lot of like I felt like the sax and the bass were like kind of winding around each other a lot. You know, imitating each other, playing the same little figures on top of each other. Cool. Kind of destabilizing. Maybe that's the word for it. But yeah, looking forward to meeting them, playing with them, and learning how to say their names properly. Being a respectful and polite person to them. I can't wait to be normal to these guys. All right. I'm going to play a Weapon X clip for you soon, but before we go, we're about to the end of the episode today. If you enjoyed what you hear and you would like to really dig into the archive, I have been, of course, releasing one episode per month here on the Rock Hard Caucus feed for the past couple of years. But if you want to go back, I mean, I was doing this show back in 2017 on the radio. And if you want to go find all of that, some of it's probably embarrassing to me. So maybe you could dig up some clips of me not knowing stuff, pronouncing things wrong, for example. If you go to iHearIC.com, you will be able to find all that stuff, all that old stuff. It used to be a live show, too, monthly, but COVID kind of took the wind out of my sails on that part of the whole program. But iHearIC.com I I downloaded the Iowa City World City calendar. They posted on Instagram, and I was like, you know what if that was on a website as well? So I borrowed that, downloaded the image, I hosted on that website, just so it has another place to live. iHearIC.com. And if you would like to support the continued efforts of this program, patreon.com/iHearIC is where you can spend money. I use the money to pay guests, which we, of course, don't have any this month. But when I do interview people, I give them money out of the pool that I collect at patreon.com/iHearIC, which for the past several years has served mostly as a repository of live recordings of mine, my solo work, and also there's some Wombat stuff on there that you wouldn't find anywhere else. There's a lot of stuff over the past 5 years, a lot of live recordings, and I have a pile of stuff that I need to get up there too soon. So if that's something you're interested in, go give it a look. All right, to close out this month's episode of iHearIC Radio, I'm going to give you some Weapon X. Again, this is me on the alto saxophone and Will Yeager on the double bass. Weapon X played this past Saturday, as I said, opening for Rashadicus. It had been our first duo show since before the pandemic. I'm not sure if it was late 2019 or early 2020, but around that time was the last time Will and I played as a duo. And it felt really good to do it again, especially for a show that had so many people at it. Such an exciting performance. And our friend Kent Williams recorded our set on his Tascam recorder, and that's what I'm going to play for you now. I took a chunk out of the middle of that I thought sounded pretty good, and I'm going to play that right now. And thanks to Kent, sorry. Speaking of pronouncing things wrong, thank you to Kent for recording that for us and sharing the audio with me. You should check out his work as well at chaircrusher.bandcamp.com. But here's a little bit of Weapon X, and thanks for listening. I hope to see you at Rose's concert on Friday, and I hope to see you at the Trumpet Blossom on Saturday. Goodbye, everybody.